Hey guys, what's going on? True Strength here, and today we're going to be doing a Demon Hunter talent overview. This is not the PvP talents, this is just the regular talents that you get. I will be doing a video later on the PvP talents. Hopefully within the next couple of days I can get it edited and get it put out for you guys. But I know I'm a little late to the punch with this talent overview, but I knew that whenever the talents first come out and everybody got into alpha, that a lot of the talents were going to go through some big changes, and hence they have. There's been several talents that have changed, or they've done some tiny changes to them. But nonetheless, we're finally getting around to it. At this point, it's kind of late into the alpha, so most of the talents in here are going to stick. There might be one or two that they change a little bit and tweak or whatever. And if they choose to do so, then we will do a little bit of an update on the talents. But I'm fairly sure that most of these talents are going to stick around, and there's not going to be many changes. So I kind of figured that now was a great time to do the talent overview and give you guys some insight on what kind of talents we have, and of course how these talents are going to affect some of our abilities. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Hope you guys enjoy. Okay guys, for our level 99 tier of talents for Havoc Demon Hunters, we will be starting off with Fell Mastery. What this does is increases the critical strike chance of Fell Rush by 100% and grants 25 Fury when Fell Rush damages at least one target. As you can see below each talent, I have the ability that the talent will be affecting. And as you can see, Fell Rush is one of our gap closers. It has 2 charges, and each charge has a 10-second cooldown. It causes you to rush forward, incinerating anything in your path for 210% of your attack power as chaos damage. So Fell Mastery just buffs this. It causes it to always be a critical strike, so which means of course it's going to do a decent amount of damage, and causes it to generate Fury, which is our resource for using our special abilities, which we'll get to at a later time in a later video. But anyways, yeah, Fell Mastery just buffs your Fell Rush. Onto the second talent in this tier. It is called Demonic Appetite. Chaos Strike has a chance to spawn a soul fragment, and consuming a soul fragment grants 30 Fury. And as you can tell, Shattered Souls, which is what we're going to be talking about as far as soul fragments go, is right down below it. In simple, a soul fragment, whenever you kill a target that yields experience or honor, there's a chance that a soul fragment will drop, and whenever you get near it, it will give you 25% of your health back. I would imagine that this talent right here would be really good for questing, because not only is it with this talent are you going to get 25% of your health back, but you're also going to gain 30 Fury, so you'll be able to stay in combat a little bit more often, and of course be able to deal damage out quicker because of the extra Fury you would get from your soul fragments. For our third ability in this tier, it is called Blind Fury. It increases the duration of I-Beam by 50%. Below I-Beam, it costs 50 Fury. It's a 2-second channeled ability. It has a 20-yard range on a 45-second cooldown. It blasts all enemies directly in front of you for 170% of attack power, and of course this is chaos damage. From my understanding, this is one of our better damaging abilities, and of course this up here with a 50% increased duration is going to cause this to last for 3 seconds. It is an AoE ability, and it is a ton of damage. I've watched it in the alpha quite often, and it almost one-shots. Of course, with this fixing to go into the beta, that'll get nerfed a little bit, maybe. You never know with Blizzard. But yeah, guys, this is just going to add an extra 1 second to the 2-second duration I-Beam. So that is it for the level 99 tier. We're going to move on to the 100 tier. For the 100 talent series, we have our first talent, which is Prepared. This reduces the cooldown of Vengeful Retreat by 10 seconds and causes it to generate 75 Fury over 6 seconds after using Vengeful Retreat. Down below we have the actual ability. This is on a 25-second cooldown, so with the 10-second reduction on that, it's going to be down to a 15-second cooldown, which is really good. What this causes you to do is you viciously assault nearby enemies and vault away. Assaulted enemies take 100% physical damage and have their movement speed slowed by 70% for 3 seconds. So not only does it reduce the cooldown by 10 seconds, bring it down to a very low 15-second cooldown, it's also going to give you 75 Fury over a 6-second duration, so you're going to get a ton of fury to use on other abilities, and of course you're going to vault away, so what happens is you pretty much jump up in the air and kind of jump back and then come back to the target. So I guess during that duration, melee ain't going to be able to hit you if they use like a, let's say an ability like Shockwave. Of course this is going to miss because you're going to be vaulting away from the target and then coming back. So with a well-timed vengeful retreat, you could essentially avoid some damage and of course avoid some forms of crowd control. But yeah, I really do like this talent because it, like I said, it brings a vengeful retreat down to a very low cooldown of 15 seconds. Does a decent amount of damage to the target. It slows them for 70% for 3 seconds, and of course it's going to generate 75 fury. So yeah, I really like this talent, guys. The second talent here is called Chaos Cleave. What it does is it causes Chaos Strike to hit an additional target. Chaos Strike, as you can see down below, melee range, costs 40 fury, slots your target for 250% to 400% chaos damage. Critical strikes do not consume fury. So pretty much this gives it a little bit of an AoE effect. I would assume that this would be good for PvE. Of course, if you guys watch my videos, I am more of a PvPer. I really don't see where this could be too useful. Maybe against like comps that are going to be grouped up and you're playing with an Affliction Warlock and you just want to do a lot of spread pressure. Maybe it would be good. But just from a typical standpoint, I don't look for it to be very effective as far as PvP goes. For you that PvE, this is of course going to give you a little bit more AoE damage with this ability. The third talent in this tier is called Fell Eruption. It impales the target for 1000% of the attack power, physical damage, and stuns them for 2 seconds. So essentially, this isn't going to have an effect on any other ability. This is just a talent within itself. It's going to give you an extra ability. It's only on a 25-second cooldown and has a 20-yard range. It does a ton of damage and, of course, gives you extra CC with the 2-second stun. Looks like it. I know it's just a 2-second stun, but with a 20-yard range, it could possibly be a good interrupt in a PvP environment. You've been able to get to the target from 20 yards away. And of course stun them, even if it's just a D-yard stun, just getting off a easy interrupt, stopping any cast, or maybe you see some type of CC coming in, you could have a little bit of range to help stop incoming crowd control and other things of that nature. So yeah, I really like this talent as well, guys. Okay guys, on to our 102 talent tier. Our first talent is going to be Fellblade. This has a 15-yard range and is on a 15-second cooldown. You charge to your target and strike with a flaming blade, causing 800% fire damage and generating, as you can see down at Fury, you generate 40 Fury. Demon Bite has a chance to reset the cooldown of Fell Blade. So essentially this is like another gap closer that does a decent amount of, we're going to go ahead and call it magical damage because that's what it is. It's fire damage. It's going to cause 800% fire damage, and of course this is going to generate Fury. Not only does it seem like another gap closer, but it's also another way to generate Fury, which is our resource for using more of our special abilities. This is only on a 15-second cooldown. Seems really awesome. It seems more mobility, more Fury, and of course Demon Bite, which is one of our abilities to generate Fury, has a chance to reset the cooldown on this. So I really like this talent as well. It's another, like I said, more mobility, more Fury, which means more damage. What's not to like? The second talent in this tier is called First Blood. Blade Dance deals 200% additional damage to the first target struck. So pretty much this is going to be a damage buff to Blade Dance, and as you can see below, this costs 50 Fury. It's on a 10-second cooldown. Strike all nearby enemies for 100%. Physical damage and increases your dodge chance by 100% for 1 second. So not only does this ability going to be able to do a decent amount of damage to a single target with this talent, but it's going to also be able to do some AoE effects and give you 100% dodge for 1 second. Maybe you're getting trained down by a TSG, there's a big warrior and a DK on you. Need to avoid a little bit of damage for a second. There you go. And not only that, it's going to also pump out a decent amount of damage. So this is one of those abilities, I guess, that could really turn the tides of the match around in your favor. I mean, it's a good defensive. It's going to do good damage on a very short cooldown of 10 seconds, but it does cost 50 50 fury, so you're going to have to watch about that and really manage your fury well. But another good talent. For our third talent, it is called Bloodlet. Your throw glaive causes targets to bleed for 190% of the damage inflicted over 10 seconds. If the effect is reapplied, any remaining damage will be added to the new Bloodlet. The talent below, which is of course throw glaive, which Bloodlet will be affecting. It has a 30-yard range, 10-second recharge, and only has one charge. You throw a demonic glaive at the target, dealing 350% physical damage. The glaive can ricochet to 2 additional enemies within 10 yards. So you have a good ranged ability. It does a ton of damage, and of course with this talent, it's going to cause a bleed effect on the target for 190%. And of course, if you get another charge of throw glaive and hit the same target again, it's going to stack the damage. The bleed that you're going to get from Bloodlet is going to stack with the original one, and make sure that you're getting all that damage out. So if you do hit the target again and get the Bloodlet, you're not going to lose the bleed effect that you originally had. It's just going to add to it and do more damage. For the 104 tier, our first talent is going to be Nether Walk. It has a 1.5 minute cooldown. Slip into the Nether, increasing movement speed by 100% and becoming immune to damage, but unable to attack. Lasts for 5 seconds, and it replaces Blur. I myself I'm not a fan of this talent. It's on a 1.5 minute cooldown, and it only lasts for 5 seconds. Granted, you're immune to all damage for those 5 seconds, but you can attack or anything else. And of course, it replaces Blur. As you can see down below, Blur is only on a 1 minute cooldown. It increases your dodge chance by 50% and reduces all damage taken by 35% for 10 seconds. Blur is a lot better defensive than Netherwalk ever thought about being. They would have to really do some hard work with Netherwalk to make it compete with Blur. So for now, I would never take this talent. Stick with Blur. Have a really good defensive. The second talent in this tier is Desperate Instincts. You automatically trigger Blur when you fall below 35% health. This effect cannot occur more often than every 30 seconds. This, of course, replaces Blur. So essentially, you have like a little bit of a last stand. You drop below 35% health, you gain the 35% damage reduction, and of course gain 50% dodge. But essentially, it's almost on a 30-second cooldown, but you cannot control it. It's a little bit of RNG involved if you just slip and fall below that 35% health. Of course, you gain that effect, but it's out of your control. I prefer to have an ability, a defensive in my control, such as Blur. So just another one of those abilities that talents that I will not be taking. I just think Blur is too good of a defensive compared to these talents. So I myself would stick with Blur, but I mean, if it could be something to play around with. The third talent in this tier is, of course, Soul Rending. My apologies. You gain 100% leech while Metamorphosis is active. So Metamorphosis is our 5 minute cooldown. It's our big offensive ability. You do tons of damage. As you can see, you leap into the air, land with the explosive force, dealing 200% attack power, chaos damage to enemies within 8 yards, and stunning them for 3 seconds. Upon landing, you transform into a hellish demon for 30 seconds, greatly empowered your demon bite and chaos strike abilities. So during this period of time, I know watching from the alpha, this is the go-to talent. It's an extra defensive. Whenever you go into Metamorphosis, you were pretty much invincible. You do tons of damage, and of course, you have 100% leech, so all that damage you're doing is just healing you right back up to full health. So, I mean, for 30 seconds, you're invincible. I don't see what's not to like here. It's a great talent to go with Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis could be safe for those bad defensive situations. You pop your Metamorphosis, you can go right back to full health. Or, heck, of course, it is a offensive ability. You pop it, go in, you do tons of damage. They're not going to attack you. They're just going to try to crowd control you or get away, because at that point in time, you're invincible. So it could also be a good defensive for your teammates. Your teammates are low on health. You pop this ability, just go in, raising Pure Cane, doing tons of damage. They can't kill you. Great talent. I like it. With these talents right now, this would be the go-to talent for me, myself. But yeah, great talent. The 106 talent tree, we have our first talent, which is called Momentum, Fell Rush, and Vengeful Retreat. As you remember, we went over these two abilities earlier in the video, so if you want to see those, you can go back and look at them. But those two abilities will now cause you to deal 20% increased damage for 4 seconds. So pretty much your mobility and Fell Rush and your Vengeful Retreat, which is a little bit of mobility as well as a defensive. These are going to cause you to do 20% increased damage for 4 seconds. I like this talent. Guess we'd have to really see how it's going to pair up with the talents that are coming. So yeah, let's jump straight into our next talents here. For our next talent, we have Demonic. This causes Eye Beam and Chaos Nova to have a chance to transform you into a full metamorphosis for 5 seconds. If you are already transformed, this increases its duration. So as you can see, Chaos Nova down below, which is has a 1 minute cooldown. It is our stun, unleash an eruption of fell energy, stunning all nearby enemies for 5 seconds and dealing 267% of attack power as chaos damage. So we went over Eye Beam earlier, which was one of our big burst cooldowns on a 45-second cooldown, and of course now our main stun, Chaos Nova. These have a chance to transform you into demon form, which is really good. I really like this, which means you're going to have that 100% leech if you go with that talent, so you're going to be invincible for another 5 seconds. And also, if you're already in demon form or metamorphosis form, it's going to extend its duration by 5 seconds. So I really like this talent. I don't know. I guess I'd have to really do more testing to see how it compares up to Momentum. But so far, I really think it's a little bit better, but we'll have to wait and see. The last talent here is going to be Nemesis. It's on a 2 minute cooldown, has a 50-yard range, increases damage you inflict against the target by 10% for 2 minutes. When the target is slain, you will inflict 10% additional damage against all creature types matching the original target, humanoid, dragon, so on and so forth, for the remaining duration. So pretty much this is like putting, let's say, we'll call it a curse or whatever on the target. It's going to increase your damage on them for 10% for 2 minutes. I guess it would be okay if you're like in a 1v1 or something, but in an arena environment where you're constantly bouncing between targets, you never truly know what you're going to have an opportunity to kill. Or even in a BG, I don't see this talent really being that great. It's only 10% damage increase, and only that, I mean, if you swap away from the target, then you're just losing that 10% damage compared to the other two talents in this tier. I just don't think it'll keep up. Not enough damage increase there. It's on a 2 minute cooldown, so you can't reapply it to a different target if you need to do so quickly. Granted, if you do kill the target, then the other targets are going to take this 10% damage for the remaining duration. But just the initial effect of being able to put it on target, if that target lives and you have to swap while this talent is on the original target, then you just pretty much you lose a talent. Keep in mind that I'm speaking from a PvP standpoint. Maybe this would be good in PvE. I don't know. Maybe so. I guess the people that PvE will have to ding in here and let me know something. But from a PvP standpoint, I just don't think this is a very good talent. But we're also keeping in mind that we're not in the PvP talent tree. So, yeah. I personally like Demonic myself in this tier. So, but we'll have to do some testing and see. Okay, so that's it for this tier, guys. Let's move on to the next. For the level 108 tier, our first talent is going to be Master of the Glaive. Throw Glaive now has 2 charges and snares all enemies hit by 50% for 4 seconds. As you remember, Throw Glaive, you throw a demonic glaive at the target, dealing 350% physical damage. The glaive can ricochet to 2 additional targets within 10 yards. So essentially, you could slow the entire enemy team, do a ton of damage. And of course, you have 2 charges of this, so you have to have a good setup for a ranged attack with this ability. And Throw Glaive is only on a 10-second recharge, well, 10-second cooldown. And with this, of course, giving it 2 charges, you would constantly have a way to deal damage from a distance. So I like it. I guess it could work out depending on the next abilities we're fixing to go over. So let's jump straight into the next talent, which is, of course, Unleashed Power. Removes the fury cost of Chaos Nova and reduces the cooldown by some weird looking numbers there. We're not for sure yet. I'm sure they'll get back to us on that one. Good job, Blizzard. But anyways, Chaos Nova, if you remember, was our 5-second stun that spec into. You could also transform into Metamorphosis during that period of time, but it removes the Fury cost of it, so you're no longer going to have to spend Fury for your 5-second stun, and it's going to reduce its cooldown by whatever percentage that Blizzard so wants it. Okay, guys, on to the third and final talent in this tier. It's called Demon Blades. Your auto attacks have a chance to deal additional shadow damage and generate fury. This, of course, replaces Demon's Bite. Demon Bite is a quick attack that causes 250% physical damage and generates 20-30 fury. This, of course, is in melee range. I myself do not like this talent. I like being able to have at least some control over how I generate my resources. Demon's Bite allows this for me. It gives me a standard way to be able to generate fury rather than being reliant on auto attacks and being some RNG there. There could be times where you just generate no fury and you're just up the creek without a paddle. Compared to Demon's Bite, you hit it, it hits target, you generate 20 to 30 fury. It's guaranteed. As long as you're hitting the target, you guaranteed that fury. So I myself do not care much for this talent. So that's it for this talent tier, guys. We're going to move on to the last and final talent tier, which is, of course, 110. Okay, guys, our first talent in this tier is Chaos Blades. This increases the damage of your auto attacks by 300% and grants you mastery damage bonus to all attacks for 12 seconds. So this is just another offensive cooldown, 2-minute cooldown. It increases your chaos damage. Your mastery increases your chaos damage by 8% and your movement speed by 8%. So essentially, this is going to cause you to do a decent amount of damage, and of course, give you this amazing run speed bonus, because of course this is increasing it by 300%. So going to be a pretty decent offensive cooldown. I'd imagine that for your burst videos or just wanting to one-shot someone, you combine this with Metamorphosis and you could just absolutely erase someone. But yeah, let's keep moving here. We're going to move on to our second talent this tier, which is called Fail Barrage. It's a 30-second recharge, has 5 charges. At your command, you unleash Fail, inflicting 190% of the attack power as chaos damage to your target and all nearby enemies for each charge. You can have, of course, a maximum of 5 charges. Your damage attacks have a chance to generate a charge. So each time you deal damage, you have a chance to gain a charge of Fail Barrage. And essentially, whenever you get up to 5 stacks, you can use this to unleash a decent amount of AoE damage. Or, you could use it at 1, 2, 3, or 4 charges as well. Just maybe to get out a little bit of damage. Maybe the target's slow and you have a couple of charges and just smack it and see if you can get lucky to land a kill on the target. For the third talent in this tier, we have Demon Reborn. All your cooldowns are reset when you invoke Metamorphosis. So this is just another talent that affects your ability of Metamorphosis, which is of course on a 5-minute cooldown. But let's say you've burned through all of your cooldowns already, whether it be Chaos Blades, Vengeful Retreat, you used Blur and all that. As soon as you hit Metamorphosis again, it's going to give you all these cooldowns back. So it's something else to combine with your Metamorphosis. I like it. I guess it's just something we'd have to really test out and see how it works. And because the other 2 talents as well, they're not too bad. You could potentially get another offensive cooldown. You could get Fail Barrage, just give you another ability to hit whenever you get the 5 stacks, give you something to keep track of. But this talent is pretty cool. Super nice being able to reset all of your cooldowns when you invoke Metamorphosis. But at the same time, let's say you want to use Metamorphosis early on, you have an opportunity in an arena match to do a lot of damage, and you haven't used any of your cooldowns, then this could potentially be a wasted talent. So I see the cool side of it, and also see the downside of it. Personally, maybe go with Chaos Blades or Fail Barrage, depending on how the damage works out with Fail Barrage. Don't get me wrong, Demon Reborn seems really good. But, everything's situational in PvP, so there could be a big downside to taking the talent. It might just be useless, depending on the situation. Could be really good, depending on the situation. So, I myself, once again, I like to be in control, and having a situation to where the talent could potentially be useless is not really something I'm into. But yeah, I mean, nonetheless, it's a cool talent. I like it for the most part. Just maybe not for me, I guess. But with that said, guys, that's it for the talents. Hopefully, here soon, within the next couple of days, I'll be able to get out the PvP talent tree and give you guys another detailed description what's going on with those talents and how they're affecting our gameplay and abilities. But yeah, guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think of Demon Hunters in the talents below. I mean, in the comments below. Good Lord, I've been talking too much about talents. But yeah, let me know in the comments below if you guys have been playing alpha, some of the talents that you've played with that worked out really well. I would love to know some of the feedback. Hopefully here soon I'll get in the beta and be able to actually give you guys a demonstration of these abilities. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.